This is LumaFusion. LumaFusion is one of the most complex video editing softwares. You can find it on iOS, both available for iPads and iPhones. In this video, I'm going to try to create a complete tutorial on how to use LumaFusion and give you my review about how well it does work LumaFusion on an iPad Pro with the M1 CPU. You can use LumaFusion as well on an iPhone, but there's gonna be this issue that you don't have a pen and it's gonna be quite difficult to edit into a timeline your projects on an iPhone. But furthermore, if you have a pen and an iPad, that's more than enough to have a great experience on how to edit videos, even 4K 60 frames per second, as are those videos on an iPad. Now let's try to create a new timeline. In order to create a new timeline, we have to press the plus on the left down corner and then access all your timelines. Then next to it is the other plus, where if you press it, you can access the menu of the new timeline. As you have noticed here, you actually have three menus and the option to name your project. I'm gonna name it in this case YouTube. Now from those three other options, if you add a clip and you don't modify the frame rate and aspect ratio and color space, you're actually gonna add them exactly how the first clip is. But in this case, I'm gonna set to 60 frames per second and landscape mode. The gray track from the timeline is actually the main track. Above it is gonna be the video tracks and below it there's gonna be the audio tracks. What I like is that there are quite a few ways you are able to import the media. For example, you can import from file apps, OneDrive, Google Drive, online, or you can import from your photo albums, photos and videos. But in this case, I'm gonna import from the photos albums one video which I'm going to edit with you and show you some basics. The moment you select the video, you can preview it and you go across it to see which part you would like. And in that case, you can adjust the end, trim and the beginning of the video. Furthermore, from this point, you can import the video into the timeline by selecting the video and dragging it, or if the video is still selected there is a button like this one, you can insert straight into the timeline. But if you do that, it's gonna be inserted only into the main track. But if you drag and drop it, you can insert it basically anywhere. Furthermore, if you press the first button, which I'm showing you right now, that will duplicate the video which is selected. The second one will duplicate only the audio. Third one is a direct link between tracks. Fourth one is editing, but now I want to jump to the fifth one, which is you can apply color grading directly into the video. This is the short way. But before that, let's go to the fourth one, and I'm going to do this manually to show you all the options to do with your footage. We have frame and fit, speed and reverse, the stabilization, we have the audio, and the color and effects, the color grading. On the top right corner on color grading, we have color presets, user LUTs, and different kind of effects you can apply to your videos. Okay, but in this moment, I want for us to go back on the color presets and choose one of the already made presets which comes with LumaFusion. And here we will try to modify a bit. We have level, brightness, contrast, saturation, vibrance, and so many, but not so many options to edit your video. There are quite a few more options missing, and this will make editing the video a little bit limited as compared to some other programs on Mac or computer, but not for iPad. Furthermore, if you made a nice color profile which you want to use it later on different projects, you can save it by pressing the star and putting a name, and that's it. Then you can use not only on this project but on other projects as well. In terms of LUTs, you can also download them from the internet, but in this case we have quite a few LUTs which comes with LumaFusion. The LUTs doesn't have options to modify the manual, only to blend the level of the LUT into the video. Play with this setting until you get the desired effect of the LUT. You can also stack all kind of effects of presets, LUTs, and so on, as many as you like, and if you want to preview some of them, you can disable the others pressing those eyes. In all fairness, I want to mention that this video was created and edited in LumaFusion only. Now let's go to the audio tab. On the audio tab, you have configuration, gain, pen, and graphic equalizer. The gain, you can set the audio level of the video you have selected, or basically the audio you have selected, depending if you select the video with the audio or separately. Graphic equalizer is actually one of the most complex graphic equalizer. You could find it on an iPad on a program. It's basically so complex, you can edit the audio so deeply from 20 Hz up to 20 kilohertz. And don't forget, you can also do it in keyframes. Now let's move on to video stabilization. Well, this is a whole nother story. I'm not gonna keep you long here because the video stabilization doesn't do a very good job, and you could see motion and shaking into the video if you stabilize it. Depending, I don't feel like as compared to Adobe Premiere Pro or Final Cut Pro, this is doing a very good job. It is there to be able to stabilize some things with different strength and have some other different options like advanced strength, advanced scale, and margin. And yes, you can play with those, but it's something to be worked on. One thing to mention, as you see lock and load stabilization by Cormelt, I think this is an external stabilization, video stabilization, which comes with LumaFusion, and it is possible. I never tried to import some other kind of stabilization plugins. I don't know, never tried. But of course, if you modify it, you can also save it as a preset, like most of the things in this program. Now, speed and reverse, basically slow motion and time lapse. You can slow the video down to 240th time of a second, which is amazing, and speed up to 6 times only. So basically what I want to say is that for slow motion it's amazing, but as time lapse you can speed the video only 6 times. You can also reverse the video to be played backwards, which is kind of useful in some situations. As an instance, you have a drone shot moving forward and you want to reverse to looks like the drone is going backwards. Now we have one last option to edit the videos, which is fit and crop. Basically, there's a whole complex equation of how to crop, zoom in the videos, fit into the screen, stretch them, blend, size, rotation, and different effects which come as presets. And you can also apply keyframes, which for each category like size and position, it's a whole nother set of keyframes. Now what else do we have in this program? Of course, like in any video editing softwares, we have transitions. There are not some complex transitions, there are quite a few simple ones, but in some occasions could be useful. Now let's move forward and let's go to titles. There are 2 types of titles: the main title, which you can insert only into the main track, and overlay titles, which is for secondary video tracks to overlay. One thing I like about titles in LumaFusion is that they are simple but very complex. Simple to use and quite complex if you want to get in depth. You can change the size, you can also change the position by dragging, you can change the font into any font you like. I like Noteworthy, it's my favorite font, and you can change the opacity, you can change the shadow, color of the shadow, rotation, position, distance, blur, absolutely everything. It's quite complex way to edit a title if you want to get in depth with editing. In blending, you can set the opacity of the font, and also you can set the keyframes for fade in and fade out, similar to a transition, and it doesn't look that bad at all. Now, how do you copy color grading from one video to another? I randomly created a color grading for one single video, and then you press that button and copy. It's really simple. If you go to the end of the video, will paste the clip. If you select another clip and paste, you will paste the effects. You can select which kind of effects you want to paste. Color grading or resizing, all those effects can be copied to one video or another, or optional. You can also add markups across your video in order to create chapters or parts you want to remember to come back later. Now let me tell you the biggest disadvantage of working in LumaFusion. Basically, you can have only a maximum of 6 video tracks and 6 audio tracks. You cannot have more, like in any other programs on computer where you can have dozens of tracks for complex projects. No, here you can have maximum of 6 tracks and nothing more, including the main track. This button will take you into the project and program settings. You can still modify the frame rate, but it will create another timeline with a new frame rate. Furthermore, you can modify the aspect ratio and the photos, title and transition length when they are dragged into the timeline. For example, when you create a new title, as an instance, I put 3 seconds and 33 frames. Now every title will have 3 seconds 33 frames when it's created as new. And there's some other settings both for the project and for the LumaFusion program. Because we are getting towards the end of the video, I want to show you how is to export or share the video. You can share on movie audio only, LumaFusion project package, XML project package, which means you export to LumaFusion project timelines in Final Cut Pro, but that costs money. Now if you export to movies, which is standard option to export, you can export to YouTube, Vimeo and directly to your photos. This is the settings you can export. You can set the video quality from small to extreme and so on, the audio quality. You can set the video codec if you want, for example, to create something with transparency, the file format, the 360 VR. Apparently I think it's possible for you to edit 360 videos as well, but I'm not sure. I never tried, but that would be great, wouldn't be? And now it takes some time depending on the performance of your iPad to export the video. For example, if you have an M1 iPad Pro, that will take less time than an iPad mini. And that will be it. Thank you very much for watching this tutorial, and I hope it helped you understand better the LumaFusion and how this works. As a program, LumaFusion I consider to be one of the greatest programs for iPad to edit your videos. I didn't try many programs, but as a final review, to say at least it does worth to buy LumaFusion and to edit your videos on your iPad Pro. I don't think there's anything better. Well, I hope to see you next time with more tutorials like this.